RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. We are live. Excited to be back for a Tuesday night live stream, the 11th day of the month of August. And it's shaping up to be a very interesting end of the summer, heading into fall, especially as we get closer towards the end of Q3, where the banking sector will have some issues. And so, as you guys can tell from tonight's subject matter, I wanted to touch on the banks a little bit. And so I have a couple articles here to really highlight and to reemphasize the importance of keeping an eye on the primary issues that we have in our financial system. And it happens to be involving the banking sector. More importantly, the globally systemic important banks, just to be more specific. So with that being the case, welcome to this live stream. Got a couple articles I want to share with you, get your guys' thoughts, as well as talk about a variety of other things. And so we will get right into it. So as always, any new viewers, let me know where you're watching from in the chat. Would love to welcome you to this live stream. And then I will go through a couple articles, share my thoughts, get your take, open up the phone lines, and then we'll go from there. So hope everyone is doing well. All right, so checking let me see, we got James. We got Solo, says Mike Meadows took a haircut today. That's okay. Just time to buy more. No doubt. 100% true. Hopefully we get another little bit of a pullback tomorrow as well. What else we got here? We got Riley says, who's taking eyes on LBP getting through tonight? Mr. Johnson, we got low blood pressure. Shirley, Kevin, Wendell, Tommy B, Bobcat says, Mike, these banks are going to get reamed the next 2 or 3 quarters. Evening man from Toronto. How you doing, my friend? Charles, Luke, how you guys doing? So, yeah. And so we witness, or I've been talking about this for quite some time now, so it's nothing new, but it's just one of those things where we won't hear any of this being talked about from the mainstream news sources, only your alternative media. And it talks about the danger behind the globally systemic important banks and even the smaller banks, because they've all been lured into the same game of basically having overextended themselves through this last decade of artificial excess through early QE, but more importantly, the extremely low borrowing cost. And so basically we're at the point now where there is no true way of determining the value of future funds or future lending costs, because we're at zero. And so that's going to be the primary reason why, on top of all the pins that are pricking the debt bubble that we're experiencing. And it's tied into the fact that we are in a debt-based monetary system, so it shouldn't be of surprise. But the dangers that we face are the fact that right now, at this current time, the same banks that are having issues and going to have more issues as this whole cover-up of a health situation as a catalyst continues on. And it's definitely going to go through the rest of this year heading into 2021. And so this is not going to be something that will just be a easy and simple fix, because it's systemic in nature. And so there's going to be multiple factors as to why banks will not be able to handle the amount of stress being placed on them because of the delinquencies, bankruptcies, you name it. And on top of the fact that the employment realm is shifting as well. So a lot of people have overextended themselves in this past decade due to low borrowing costs. And that all is coming head now when it comes to all the things that are being put on hold right now, which is the moratoriums. And so they're talking about further extending, with the real estate side of things, of not having to pay those mortgages, as well as the real estate side of things, the landlord situation. Car lending is having issues. There's furloughing the student loan situation or whatever. So all that debt is somebody else's asset or liability. So enough of that. I'll get into it further. But as always, what actually sparked this desire to go down this road tonight in regards to the banks happens to be from, I should put it on the screen here. And so, as I mentioned, Reggie Middleton. And so I've had him on the show a couple of times now. And so Reggie Middleton was one of those individuals that, well before 2007, 2008 was talking about the banking situation. Watch out for the banking situation. And so Reggie Middleton, if you guys don't follow him on Twitter, or I would definitely recommend you subscribe to his YouTube channel, because he does a great job of breaking down his analysis on the banks. But he posted a tweet earlier, and I retweeted it, because he's basically doing the best he can with the platform he has as to warn as many people as possible about what's really going on behind the scenes and the real losses that the banks are taking. And so I'll just basically thumb through this little, as you guys can see here. So it says basically from the guys that warned of Lehman Brothers, Bank of America, in Q2, review is out and it stings. He says evidence that the bank bailouts may ensue. You won't read this from Fed, SEC, FINRA, sales side analysts, financial media, or anywhere else. And so he's talking about what's really going on behind the scenes. And so here's a visual aid he put out here. So basically just talking about the losses of Bank of America, looks like in Q2. And so I guess what was set aside, as far as provisions for losses that they would ensue as a result of shutting down the economy, they set aside 9.2. But according to Reggie's calculations and all the math he did behind the scenes, 31.2 is what actually was, so 31.2 billion, I would imagine. And they only was set aside enough in the form of 9.2 for this current loss. And so once again, I don't think we heard that type of information from the mainstream news. So goes to show that there's a lot of other things happening that we are not hearing about, and it's going to come to a halt at some point. And the reason I'm saying all this is because a good portion of the population still has an overwhelming amount of their current livelihood in the form of their digital units, as well as what they think in form of paper inside of these banks. And so the further we go along, the more dangerous this banking sector becomes, and it also places that much more of risk upon you. And just to really highlight how important this is, if you guys go back to March, when the FDIC, I think his president, came out and did that little campaign pitch, I think it's at the end of March, to prevent a bank run. And here in the U.S., she was saying that, we've never had any losses. We've never lost any funds. We've never lost one penny because we insure your funds or whatever. At the same time, they remove restrictions on the banks as to how much reserves they have to have in place in case of situations like this. So you factor all that up, there's something going on. And so enough ranting. I want to get into just some articles real quick, scan over the surface, and just highlight more of a reason why this is something that we should pay attention to, because you won't hear it anywhere else. And so here's an article here that I just came across this today as well, sharing the news. And it says banks brace as pandemic poses biggest test since the financial crisis. Free to read. And so usually these type of Financial Times usually cost, but for whatever reason, they made it free today. And as you go through the article, you read more about it, and it gives some numbers as to what was set aside and what the losses they're actually incurring. And so here, just some charts here. It just shows you the pandemic hits European and U.S. banks values with similar force. And so here we have that dip of what occurred at the end of March when the economy was shut down, and the slow but steady climb that they've been trying to accumulate that is not due to the fact that more people are borrowing and more people are in a great position financially, but is more so due to the fact of all the liquidity that's been put out there. And in particular, the fact that the Federal Reserve gave the commercial banks control of the PPP program, which, of course, those funds, those billions of dollars, I don't think really made it out to the people they were intended to. So that goes into that, as well as all the other lending windows and special purpose vehicles they've created, has created this fake illusion of a recovery from the bank shares. But yet we all know that that's not the case. Here's another article here. Another little visual aid here. It says provisions are already close to level seen in 2010. And so this is what it looks like for banks in the U.S. and European. So I'm not sure why they're lumping them both together, but globally systemic important banks happen to be in Europe and in the U.S. primarily. But it says the provisions that were set aside and then what was actually needed in comparison to what we experienced in the last financial crisis is that we're only at the end of the first quarter of them having to calculate all the losses that they are currently taking. And I believe that Q2, which ends at the end of September, which is literally maybe 40 something, 50 days away, will definitely shoot past this to the point where it's going to hit crisis level. And so I would imagine it's crisis level right now, but yet the information we're being given shows that it's still brewing under the surface. So, just something to read there. And before I move any further, I want to acknowledge, let me see here. I got a super chat here. Appreciate the love, my friend. It says, Silver will charge back up. Great show, Mike. I appreciate that. And definitely silver will charge back. And I'm at the point now where I'll be willing to say that it's a mathematical certainty that the current financial system is imploding. Therefore, metals, which have been historical monetary units of accountability, because they always reflect the the problems that central banks and governments have in the form of the revaluation of those units of a single unit. So of a single unit of silver. So here I got a 5-ounce round here. So this 5-ounce round of pure silver will not go to zero. But yet all those financial products that were created and put on the balance sheets of the banks and people think they have on their phone, all those things will go back to where they came from, which was from, somebody stroking some keys, and it's going to go back to zero. But metals will not go away. Metals will do even better. And so that's why I'm more confident that at the end of this third quarter here, we're going to see another ramp up in the price of metals, because there's going to be, between now and then, the Federal Reserve will respond in a sense to help some of these losses that are going to be showing up a little bit more obviously, it'd be more obvious rather than any time before. And so Riley says, why does everyone want the price to go up? Riley, great question. I don't think it's that we want the price to go up. I mean, I personally have always said, if you've been watching channel for any length of time here, I've always mentioned how manipulation is one of my best friends because it buys time. And so it's one of those things where I don't want the financial system to completely go belly up, because as the caller mentioned last night about, we'll be entering into a world that there'll be no return from rather. And so keep the manipulation going. It buys more time for more people to wake up and get into this type of chat that we're having here so that they can better prepare accordingly. So, but yet you have some that's, been hanging in there for a long time, and they want to see the price go up. And once again, when the price goes to where you think it should be, it won't be a comfortable environment to actually use that to your advantage. So low blood pressure, I want to see the dollar destroyed last year. Low blood pressure. Okay. So play on words there. The dollar, the dollar is going to be fine. And when I mean the dollar, I mean the United States Mint dollar, whether it be gold or silver, we'll do fine. It's just the Federal Reserve note. So I would imagine you'll say, I want to see the Federal Reserve system or Federal Reserve note destroyed last year. And the Federal Reserve will do that. I mean, that's all they can do. So they're going to do a good job they're going to finish the deal off. There's no doubt. Every privatized entity in the form of a central bank has always fulfilled their own promises of, unfortunately, enslaving nations while also buying up all real tangible assets for themselves and killing the currency in doing so. Okay, so enough rant. Let me get to some more articles here. So as I was talking about here, the stress on the banks are there. And if it takes more evidence to show how problematic it's going to be for the commercial banking sector, just look at some of the recent activity as well as the current events that's underway. And so here's another article here that I thought I would share. It says, why are banks putting PPP forgiveness on the back burner? And so just the title alone, brought a question to my mind that I wanted to share as a form of an answer possibly. And so PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, was a method presented by the United States government through the Federal Reserve in conjunction together to collateralize loans on treasuries and whatever, provide liquidity. Okay, sure, whatever. It's all designed to keep people at work, supposedly. But it was one of those things where they could have extended the currency directly to the people or to the businesses themselves, as opposed to having going through the too big to fail banks. And so the too big to fail banks right now have a lot more on their plate than actually providing the process or processing and taking and monitoring and doing all the homework and research necessary to make sure they're allocating those funds to where they belong, as far as the actual people who, or the businesses that actually need those loans. And so that's not of importance to them right now. So that's one of the reasons why I would imagine they're putting this on the back burner. And then here's another article here. This is one of the reasons why, the mortgage mayhem. And so this is as of today on Zero Hedge. So, overall delinquency rates soar as housing crisis lurks. And so once again, all these mortgages. There's going to be so many unpaid debts out there, whether it be the commercial real estate, the retail industry going belly up. We got residential housing. We have all those debts. If you name it, if somebody has taken out a debt in the last 10 years and extended themselves well beyond what they could maintain, more than likely it's going to be challenged. And so when you see stuff like this, or when I see stuff like this, it just further highlights the importance of realizing the danger of the banking sector now. And the two big to fail banks were the catalyst for the last crises, and they are a catalyst for this current crisis. Because remember, all this initially kicked off. QE5, I think it was, a 4 started last September with the repo access. And so once again, there was billions being brought into existence that we have no clue as to where they went. And so now there's no need for the repo lending window because they got buku other lending windows. And then here's something here, U.S. bankruptcies. And so between the delinquencies, bankruptcies, and everything else, we have a perfect storm brewing, and it all falls on the bank's balance sheets. And so what's going to happen? The Federal Reserve will be coming in to save the day outside of what they've already done within the next 40 or so days. They're going to announce something. I'm not sure when the next FOMC meeting is, but yet between now and then, there's going to be a lot more liquidity provided to cover up this mess that's underway. So, and then here's something else. There's going to be a drawdown. And so I was, talking to my wife earlier, and we were talking about how a lot of people who were furloughed have been brought back through the PPP process. And so the funds for the PPP has ran low for the most part. So we got the left-right paradigm tit for tat fighting over, the next HEROES Act, whether it's going to be 3 trillion or 1 trillion. And that right here all plays into here. And so a lot of small businesses will be forced to actually make layoffs permanent because most of the products or services that people were brought back to work or to do or to create, people aren't really consuming like that no more. So that's going to create a whole nother tidal wave of unemployment coming pretty soon. Therefore, the side effect of that will be debts not being paid. So that's going to probably be Q4. Eventually, we're going to see more stuff like that. So here we have it right there. I wanted to just share with you some things that caught my attention today, stemming with the bank crisis. And so everything we're experiencing now is on the surface, just icing on the cake, but yet the actual heart of the substance of the matter happens to be the G-SIBs. Okay, furloughed is laid off, correct, but it's one of those things where if they have special types of situations where you can still kind of be receiving some of your benefits or whatnot. You're not officially fired. You're just not currently working, not currently getting a paycheck at your full capacity. And so it's one of the things where, some people actually were getting paid, being laid off, a portion of their paycheck or whatnot. So it varies or whatever, but they're the first ones that's supposed to be called back. And for those that have probably went back, those are the ones that probably fall subject to being permanently laid off in the near future. Because once again, it's unfortunate, but once flu season hits, we can all expect to be on further lockdown outside of what we have currently experienced. And so, that's what it is, man. And so enough of me ranting. Let me get the phone lines open. I want to hear from you guys. So what do you think about the banking situation? So, they have become very stingy or very, meticulous as to how much they're willing to lend out and who they're willing to lend to. They're cracking down on the credit card game. And so that's all, I believe, a part of the fact that they have to focus on, their lifeline, which happens to be all those losses that will fall on their shoulders. And of course, the Fed got them covered. Okay, so let me get this phone line open. I see somebody trying to call. Let me see if I can get that call. All right, let me see here. I'm actually going to miss that one. Let me see if it's ringing. And what else we got going on? So there's a variety of other subject matters as well. I just wanted to lead off with that. We can keep going. Of course, we have, I guess, Mrs. Harris, Kamala Harris, is now the VP, and so came out relatively quick. And so this morning, I heard about the Biden camp looking to announce in a shorter time frame the preferred VP pick, and so it had 10 I think it was 10 different women up there. And then next thing you know, 2 hours later, it said that Harris was the pick. And then I saw a Trump tweet that was hilarious. Okay, let me see here. So, all right, let me try to do this again. Okay, I see the phone ringing. Let me try to get this. So it should be ringing on both sides. Let me make sure I'm good here. All right, give me a call back. We get it going. I apologize for that. What else we got going on here? Good evening. We got here. Did it do? Okay. Thought I had a call. Okay. Solo is on a cruise. Okay. Obama 3.0. What we got there? Higher taxes and more stimulus and debt. Great. Higher taxes and more stimulus and debt. Great. Yeah. And so here's the thing. So what we're going to be facing is, especially in 2021 moving and beyond, the idea of, as Trump loved to say, Trump is literally, as I mentioned last night, Trump is trying to get rid of taxes altogether because taxes have been a thorn in his flesh. The fact that they've been trying to get his tax returns forever, I'm sure he's ready to get done with that. So he's going to do his best to make sure that there will be no taxes of any kind, more than likely. And so that right there plays into no need for centrally controlled currency. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Mike. It's Casey. I'm calling from Fort Worth, Texas.
Casey from Fort Worth, Texas. How you doing, my friend? What's your mind tonight?
When you talked about the banks bracing for impact, I was listening to Chris DeWayne on Various Truths Never Told, and he keeps on bringing up somebody's buying a large order of silver at the COMEX, and it's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what's going to trigger the bank defaults, or everything going down the drain?
Okay, so that particular vehicle there that the Fed or the banks have used as the manipulation tools, that's just one branch of the many other avenues they have to control and manipulate things. And so that right there has already proven to be an issue, as we've witnessed, like all the big banks throughout the last several decades that's rigged the prices that they've bailed out. And so that now I'm hearing from watching a lot of other commentators as well, hearing about the last couple banks that are in there that's also trying to get out that can't. And they're the ones that are going to have some losses on top of all the other stuff they got going on. So they cover so much financial products. It's hard to really determine which one will be the catalyst. But as of right now, they're all impacted. So they're all going to be a problem for those banks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. And
yeah.
And it's going to be, like I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but any idea of, he says in September, do you have any idea of what day, like particular day?
Okay, so once again, I think so. So him saying September is definitely the end of Q3, as you know, the banks have to do the tallying up as to the losses and stuff like that. And you factor in all this mortgage situation, commercial bank, the mall stores, all those debt liabilities out there are coming due and not being paid. So that's one issue on top of the manipulation of the contracts with the futures and stuff like that they're having issues with actually covering. So you factor all that in, September, sounds like a great date for silver to head to the moon probably, as well as gold and everything else. So September is trying to be a good year.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Timed it perfectly for the election.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So think about going into complete chaos and pandemonium in the financial realm, heading into an election, which I believe is a part of the plan. So I'd imagine that they referring to whoever's trying to orchestrate this overall they factor that in as one way to disrupt anything this current administration has going, as far as Trump narrative of trying to say the economy's recovering and everything is fine, people are getting back to work, and yeah, okay, we'll see come September.
Yes, sir.
All right, my man.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Appreciate you calling. Thanks for the call. Yes, sir. Good stuff there, man. So let me, for those that haven't, I want to play something for you guys real quick. Let me, I want to find, here is a video that President Trump, and so let me see, is this it? Let me see here. Okay, yeah, so here's this video here. I saw this, not long, a couple hours ago. It was funny. So for those who may not have seen it, I'll play it. It's only 30 seconds long, but just it's kind of comical. Let's see if I get some sound. Where's my sound?
Kamala Kamala Harris ran for president by rushing to the radical left, embracing Bernie's plan for socialized medicine, calling for trillions in new taxes, attacking Joe Biden for racist policies. Voters rejected Harris. They smartly spotted a phony. But not Joe Biden. He's not that smart. Biden calls himself a transition candidate. He is handing over the reins to Kamala while they jointly embrace the radical left. Slow Joe and phony Kamala. Perfect together, wrong for America. Kamala Harris.
Oh man, that was when I saw that, man, I was rolling, brought tears in my eyes. And so think about this: how politics has become so such a touchy issue, man. So I was like, and so here's another question. I'm curious to find out, so if you just glance around your neighborhood, your area, wherever you live at, how many people actually see signs in support of who they prefer to be as the next president, whether it be the Trump, Pence, or I don't even know if Joe Biden even have signs, because I haven't seen any, but yet he didn't have a VP till today. But let me know in the chat or give me a call. I'm curious to find out, because of the sensitive nature of this presidential election here. A lot of people, I believe, are afraid to even talk about who they would rather see if they had a choice, or in having a choice, as well as being able to demonstrate that or show that in their front yard. So I see a lot of people who say, when I see Trump stuff, I always see those "Don't Tread on Me" flags on the back of cars and stickers and stuff like that. And so, yeah, man, this is a very interesting and touchy situation out here these days. But anyway, let me hear from you guys. Give me a call. Let's talk. And so Solo says, my area full of any sensible adult 2020 sign. Really? So is that actually a sign? Kanye said he's running for president. You believe that? S400. I believe Kanye's out here creating a storm to try to and I've watched a couple of was it like concert or not? I've watched a couple hip hop type, commentator shows or whatnot. And people are saying that people calling Kanye all types of names, saying he's still mentally ill and all types of stuff. So whatever thing is I think from a business standpoint, Kanye's furthering his own personal brand by just highlighting his willingness to go out there on a limb and even talk about running for anything. So at the end of the day, it's putting more money, it's putting more currency in his pocket, because I also read reports that he received some of that PPP stuff as well. So, but yet, from what I've heard, he's attempting to lure the African American vote away from Biden and towards Trump, I assume. So I don't know. It's hard to take the people serious nowadays. So John Carter said, I see a 50-50 mix of Biden or Trump. Not many, though. Horton says the best. George Jensen, I'm not even well versed in that one, so I don't follow that one. Treasury versus the piggy bank slaughter, fiat monetary system schemes and plots. Muhammad, yes, sir. So yeah, the banks. I'll start off by talking about the banks. Share a lot of articles and stuff, just highlighting the dangers that's lurking, and how at the end of Q3 we're gonna hear more about that. And we're going to hear about it from the standpoint that Jerome Powell will come out with some press conference and reinsert the fact that the banks are still strong. There's no issues there. We're just going to have to, provide a little bit more liquidity for, whatever. They're going to try to divert it somewhere else, but those funds will be siphoned back to the banks, of course, to cover some of those losses. And then also keep in mind, right now, the banks themselves, commercial banks, are holding on to the largest amount of deposits on record. And so they have your deposits as well as the liquidity coming from the Federal Reserve to cover their losses. So I think this type of environment can turn into some type of bail-in situation if it gets out of hand, because when you look at the total liabilities, and so I haven't even really looked at the balance sheets of most of the banks, but knowing the derivative exposure and all that other stuff, there's so many different products that they've created that they're going to have to be held accountable for. I would imagine the total amount of funds needed will definitely be in the trillions at the very least. And the total amount of currency needed to cover all the other financial products they've created will be in the quadrillions. And so as this stuff plays through, there's no new currency created without without the creation of another debt instrument or debt loan other than the Fed who just bringing it into existence from nowhere. So there's going to be trillions upon trillions created, and the last remnants will make its way to the streets, but it's going to make its way to the streets in the form of inflation, because the 1% are benefiting heavily off of all the activity done by the Federal Reserve at this current moment, with the fact that I'm reading about the Federal Reserve is buying corporate bonds, and they're buying bond ETFs from people who don't even need the funds. They're just making sure it's provided. So they're dispersing it amongst many other mainstream companies to make it look like they're helping. But really, that's all lining the pockets of those that own those shares of those companies. So, yeah, and the board members and the presidents. And so the wealth disparity, the wealth gap has definitely increased within the last 5 months of us going through this new shift that we're going through. And so as of now, it looks like we got some activity on the silver scene. So man, like I wouldn't be mad. I would be mad at seeing some readjustments of that silver price. And so here, see. So right now on the screen, silver at this current moment is taking another dip, 23.66. And based upon how high it shot up in such a short period of time, I would not be mad to see silver under $20 again. Anybody out there feel the same way, or am I by myself? Problem is, the premiums will remain the same. So silver tomorrow, watch this. If tomorrow it might have, might do a little bit, but if it goes down to $20 an ounce, just say $20 an ounce, premiums will still be $7, $8 for Eagles, and your generic silver, depending on where you go, might be $4 or $5. So you're still going to pay a premium, because think about this. As of right now, a lot of the coin dealers, bullion dealers, they've been buying back. So there's been a lot of people selling. They've been buying back in the high 20s. And so therefore, they stand to lose if they don't sell it back for what they purchased it at and a little bit more. So expect the premiums to probably even go up, I'd imagine. My little brother says, Mike says, no. So you don't want to see it at $20 an ounce. The thing says America is doomed no matter who the president is. President can't control the Fed or Treasury. Trump executive order will not do anything until the Fed or Treasury say so. Nathaniel, 100%. And it's one of the things where, I think at this current moment, people still believe in the illusion of choice. And so, I see a lot of people, especially celebrities, make sure not even celebrities, but a lot of people say, make sure you vote. This is crucial. This election is crucial. And it's one of the things where every election to this point has been crucial, but I'm of the mindset that this election here will probably be the last of its kind, for whatever that's worth. I don't think that the election process, especially if the mail-in ballot stuff continues to pick up and people are pissed and all that stuff is not sorted out in a timely manner, we could probably go into the end of this year not actually knowing who a president is. Therefore, that's going to create pandemonium in the market. So imagine, the USA not knowing exactly who the winner was because of all the fraud and all the mail-in boxes is still coming in December. So that's the type of stuff we are probably going to experience. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Pat from Alabama, Mike. How you doing?
How you doing, my man?
I am doing just great. You may not know it, but you went from preaching to meddling.
To meddling, okay.
Because when you was preaching $20 silver, everybody likes to hear that. And I'm 68 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see this stuff skyrocket. I ain't got much time.
I understand, my man. I understand, Pat. But
you went from preaching to meddling.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, if you want to see it skyrocket, everything has been the chaos and the pandemonium and the geopolitics, all those factors are ready and ripe. So it's any minute now. So you are closer now than you probably have ever been in your life. So keep that little bit of patience going. You know what I'm saying? And it should pay off well.
Well, I'm a retired Department of Defense civilian, that's got over 7 years in a combat zone.
Yeah.
I've seen all that happy shit. I'm just ready to spend some money.
I hear you, my man. Bad.
All right. Well, you have fun, Mike.
For sure. Appreciate you.
I'd call you and
all right.
see if I couldn't brighten my day and yours too.
You
have
did.
fun.
I appreciate you, my man. Be good.
Bye.
Yes, sir. Good stuff, man. All right. So phone lines are open, people. Let me hear from you guys. What do you guys think? What else? What other subject matter do you guys want to touch on? We can definitely do that. So I'm curious to find out what you guys think. All right. So Mr. Vince Grant, I appreciate the generosity, my friend. It says Chicago is closing down the downtown area. All the bridges are being put up and all of the streets exits closed. Perhaps the CME is about to get shut down. That right there could be another issue there. So Vince, man, that's a great point there. I didn't think of it like that. And so, without even really knowing, I think when I was, let me see. I was in Chicago last summer. I think I actually went looking for the building. So here's the thing with that. The CME, I'd imagine, majority of the workforce is not actually working. And so a lot of things is probably being done digitally or through those high algorithm frequency trading type platforms. So even if Chicago was probably to be burned down, I don't think, the banking cabal would want to see the price skyrocket off of that. So they'll probably still be able to control the manipulation a little bit longer, but we'll know. Hello, Carlos. Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Typo from Massachusetts. How are you?
I'm doing good, Typo. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Hey, I just have a quick question for anyone in the chat that might be aware of this or your input.
Okay.
I'm hearing a lot about the quantum financial system and wondering whether that means many different types of money exchange or whether there's a very specific, clear definition of that. So I just sold back some silver and, I didn't get a great price because the guy said a lot of people are selling.
Yeah.
And that surprised me. And it was just a small portion to hedge with crypto. So I felt more secure.
Yeah.
And in the idea of hedging, I'm wondering if any of your listeners are aware of anything going on with the quantum finances having to do with David Wynn Miller or J. Russell Gould in the Postmaster General position in that legal fight through the UN and the Vatican and all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's actually taking place behind the scenes, if anyone's looked into that, because I really just want to get a good grip of what quantum financial system actually means.
Okay, so
I'm just throwing that out.
Good deal.
So get off the line so we can talk.
I appreciate you for calling and sharing that. I haven't heard of that, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, so John, Colorado, I appreciate the love offer from our friends. Just put your hands up for Detroit, a lovely city. Yeah, Detroit. It's man. It took its bumps and bruises, man. And at the heart of everything, there's hope. There's potential in the city still. So, yeah, downtown Detroit. For those that have not been here in a while, it's probably changed. It's night and day compared to what you guys have probably seen last. So, that Dan Gilbert, the Cleveland Cavaliers owner, pretty much owns downtown Detroit. So he's been doing a lot of rebuilding and remodeling down there, apart from the fact it's a ghost town now. But so appreciate that love offering. So quantum financial, okay. Typo, put that back in the chat for me. Quantum financial something or another. I forgot what that was that quick. But no, I haven't heard of that. And so it looks like sounds like you said multiple payment systems at once. I haven't heard anything about that. And so if anybody else has in the chat, feel free to let me know. It says David Wynn Miller died. Okay. I don't know. So, and so Sabrina says, hey, I'm from Detroit. I left my family when I was 16. So you still in the D or you ventured out? All right. Take this call here. All right. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Mike. This is William from San Diego.
William from San Diego. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind?
Just listening to you. I hope you don't mind me calling in and giving out the ideas, although everybody's been asking questions tonight, right?
Oh, yeah, feel free, man. Like, just chime in, throw it out there. What you got for us?
I got a few points that I think you will benefit from just by me telling stories. For example, right now, 2020 in Singapore, I'm not from Singapore. I just listen to these silver bullion dealers that are based there. I forget their names. And they have exchanges in their bank account in which they can go into like 10 different currencies. And there are fees and interest fees based on the account type that you are with. For example, if you're an American with the U.S. dollar, I think they're charging more now, is what they were saying. They were joking. I thought they weren't American. One of them's American and one of them, I think, is German Swiss. But, they were kind of talking down to us about it. But they were just commenting that in the USA, we only have a choice to go into into the U.S. dollar. While they're in Singapore, they're freer. They can exchange it. I don't know about this quantum thing, but that's a quantum difference because you can exchange. For example, myself as a Series 6 and 63 in 2002 with that type of legal licensing, only 6 years ago I was able to call. And this is what I'm still going to want to talk to you about that. But what do you think about that? Singapore having the ability to exchange into different currencies.
I'm familiar with the fact that Singapore has been like a international money hub to where there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of opportunity out there, and it's a gateway for the world for the most part. So I've heard a lot about Singapore. So I'm not surprised at that at all.
Well, yeah, Singapore is originally the gateway to China, like Hong Kong, because the English had gained the island of Hong Kong as a way to trade freely with China at the force of a gun, of English gunships and then American gunships, with the different exchanges of silver. Then when England gave away all their silver for the tea that they were buying from Hong Kong, they actually started growing opium in India, I think, and Pakistan and Afghanistan, and selling it to the Chinese. And when the Chinese threw them out and said, no, we don't want the opium, we'll burn it, the English came with gunboats. And so they went inside the rivers all the way up China's mainland and really scared the heck out of the dynasty there. Changed it over and got back their silver by selling them opium.
Yeah. Yeah, they got him good with that one, man.
Singapore has a lot of what Hong Kong used to have, which is basically it was an English colony and now freed itself both from China and England and still retains some of our Western capital systems in a free marketplace. Which is what the U.S. has not practiced, for example, in South America, where I grew up, in Panama and Central America. And I saw that you traveled to different countries. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Never got down to Panama, but I was up and down that spot, up and down our region.
Well, I was born a little bit older than you, but in Panama, what really made me upset, I was already here in La Jolla, a very safe place in San Diego, when they took down Noriega, they actually the military utilized weaponry for the surrounding neighborhood where the palace is in Panama. It used to be an architecturally old Spanish palace, right? But it was Noriega, and they took them out way back when, in one of their incursions when Papa Bush was CIA director that he didn't admit to under, illegally, because as a president, he was supposed to divulge that. But they lasered around there, and those people, that was a ghetto essentially, but still, I mean, the military went in and took out the neighborhood surrounding the palace, like they were collateral damage. And I went to school there in a private school. I mean, I went to school with Panamanians.
Really? Well, I was watching. I don't mean to cut you off. Let me get a couple more calls in, though. But I appreciate you calling in and getting that point out there. But let me get a couple more calls in here. So I'll try to keep the calls relatively short so we can get more people in.
Thanks, Mike. All right.
Appreciate you calling, my friend. Thanks. Yes, sir. Appreciate the call. So yeah, phone lines are open for a couple more minutes. Give me a call. Let's talk. If you got a point to make or a question to ask, feel free to do so. And I'll go from there. So I see Typo put the quantum financial system. So I'll type that in and see what comes up. Quantum financial system, because I have not heard of that. Quantum financial system. All right, let's see what pops up with that one. I'm curious now. Okay, so here's something here. And so typing in quantum financial systems, this is what pops up. It says Honeywell wants to show what quantum computing can do for the world. Quantum plan will be ready in a few months. And so quantum corporation, quantum workforce, quantum computer. So it sounds like just typing that in Bing or in this DuckDuckGo here, quantum computing. And so I'm not sure how that goes. Warcastle's YouTube. Okay, so I'll check that out on YouTube later on because I'm curious. But yeah, quantum computing is going to be another thing. So that's a whole nother ballpark there. And that's why I think that I was watching when it comes to cryptocurrencies, I was watching a channel and they were talking about how based upon the technology and how it's ever increasing, they see a program, an algorithm being able to pretty much begin dismantling or solving the primary problem behind blockchains is the fact that there's a public key and then there's a private key. And so they are saying that, they meaning some quantum physicists are saying that, it's going to be a lot closer than we think. And they were saying that the Bitcoin blockchain is not necessarily, there's no development. There's no team of people that's working on solving that problem as we get close to that time frame, which could be a problem. So yeah, for whatever it's worth, we'll see. All right, let's keep talking. What else we got going on here? It says Surgeon Robert Wilson on YouTube. BC Major. Okay, I will check that out. What else we got going on here? So let me see here. So I'm curious for those that are tuning in. Give me your thoughts on Kamala Harris and the VP pick. How do you think that's going to be received come tomorrow? What do you think the world's going to be talking about? Will it help his chance or hurt his chance? And also not everyone, but a good portion of people are in agreement that, Joe Biden will not be the one that makes it all the way through whatever that time frame is. So will Kamala Harris be the first, woman candidate president or whatever? So I'm curious to find out what you guys think. Let me know in the chat. Let me get this call here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, I'm from Backville, California.
Yes, sir. What's your name again?
Steve.
Steve, how you doing, Steve? What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, not too much. Hey, Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
There's since I'm out here in California, I think it will come to light once her background is exposed.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be nice about it. The casting couch is how she made her way through everything that she's gotten through, along with throwing a whole bunch of black people in prison, back in the prison system, basically the money system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure all of that's going to come out as it stands down the road. But let the chips fall where they may with her. But it is what it is.
Now, quick, because what was that first thing you said as one of the issue? What I didn't hear it.
The casting couch. I'm trying to be nice about it.
The casting couch.
She kind of slept her way through.
Okay.
through things, and I'm sure that will come out. It's kind of common knowledge out. It's common knowledge out here.
Yeah. Really? Okay. So I heard whispers and rumors of that, when she was running a while ago, but I didn't really get in. I didn't hear nothing in depth. But yeah, I'm assuming Trump won't mind calling her out on that. But you got to be careful because the first lady don't got the cleanest reputation either. So I don't think you want to air out his dirty laundry either. So
absolutely. Hey, the other thing too is, did you hear about Washington State loading up on food?
I saw one of the community members sent me something about that. I didn't dive into it, but give me the rundown from what you heard.
Yeah, that was me that sent you an email on that. But yeah, if you can just type in state of Seattle, basically loading up on food, etc. And there's an article, I think it was in the Seattle Times or something.
Okay, it says, let me see here. Food banks. Okay, let me see here. So I probably got to go to Google to find that one, or go back to my email. Okay, I'll try to pull that up here. So yeah, so appreciate you sending that. So I glanced at it, but once again, to get more than enough messages to where it's hard to read them all. But I'll check into that, man. I appreciate you.
And one last thing too, I have a Bank of America story that actually just happened to me yesterday. I've been with Bank of America, for over 20 years.
Yeah.
No problem. I've had zero problems with them. But I went and deposited a check yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It was like about $4,500. Deposited a check,
mm-hmm.
and basically all I was going to do is just cash it out, and I'm going to go get my weight up.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy said, well, you have to wait until tomorrow to get your money. And
mm-hmm.
I said, okay, not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So then I woke up this morning, and I go onto my account online, and there's no transaction whatsoever showing the deposit at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Really?
Yeah. So I called Bank of America and said, hey, I made a deposit yesterday, and I'm not seeing anything on my timeline here,
mm-hmm.
etc. So the young lady on the phone checked. She says, nope, we don't have any record of it either.
Mm.
Yeah, and at that point, I'm starting to panic. At that point, thank goodness I held on to the transaction little piece of paper that they gave me at the bank.
Yeah.
So when the bank opened, I go to the bank and I have the little paper showing that I deposited,
mm-hmm.
etc. I said, hey, there's a problem. I said, my money's not here. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to sit in there for about an hour or so for them to get this straightened out. And
mm-hmm.
this was just today.
Yeah.
This never happened the entire time I've been with Bank of America. Never.
Really?
But it happened yesterday and today. So I spent an hour of my time for them to get it straightened out. It was incredible.
Yeah. Was it a little error on obviously an error on their part, but then what was their excuse as to why it didn't show up or what?
And that was my question to them. I said, well, wait a minute. I said it's not showing up, but yet here it is. Here's the paperwork
mm-hmm.
that the transaction did take place. But you guys are telling me that, oh, it must not have read the check or something. I said, well, here's the deposit slip.
Yeah.
Now, had I thrown that piece of paper away for some reason, I would have been in there looking for my money.
Yeah.
It would the onus would have been on me to prove that I made a deposit.
Yeah.
So I would just tell people to hang on to those receipts.
Yeah.
Until they know everything's clear.
Yeah.
'Cause that was strange. I never had any problems whatsoever, ever.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Until that.
Hey.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you calling and also sharing those articles and the thoughts and whatnot, man. Thanks for sharing our story with us, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, be good. Yeah, man. That is an interesting situation there. So, yeah, it could be a little simple error or not, but yet I anticipate more mishaps of things like that happening as the banks experience more problems. So Camila Harris is probably queen of the Black Lives Matter. I make direct deposit 6 kids. Oh my goodness. Yeah, man. What else you got going on here? This dude cost Mike his audience. Who is this? This dude's costing Mike his audience. Can't confirm a congratulations on 100,000 subs. What you talking about? Oh man, yeah. I wish I was at 100,000 subs. YouTube has been censored me a long time ago. All right, man. What else we got? Jose Jay Snip on YouTube did a series on John Teeter. Amazing, good ideas for preps. The book sales for $1,200. Jay Snip video has a great resource. Yeah, $1,200 book. LBP 2020. They gotta get 300 votes from the chat for sure. Good stuff, man. All right, we about to get ready to dial back, man. Been a great night. I appreciate the feedback and those that called in. And so with that being the case, back at it tomorrow, having Mr. Daryl Schoon join us tomorrow. And so he recently wrote a nice little descriptive article describing how hyperinflation is a lot closer than we think it is. And so I reached out to him and told him to come join me and share it with you guys. So tomorrow at about, I think, 3 p.m., Daryl Schoon will be joining us for an interview. So we're going to do it live so you guys can ask questions as well. And if anybody know how Daryl gets down, he's always full of energy, sometimes too much energy. But with that being the case, everybody have a good night. And I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow, Lord willing, at 3 p.m. Join me for the interview and then be back tomorrow night as well. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay prayed up. Peace.